The development race in Formula 1 off the track is almost as important as the races themselves on the track. Now, Formula 1 at the moment is heading towards a very pivotal time in its modern history. 2025 is the final year of the current regulations before we do a massive switch over to the 2026 regulations for the future of the sport. Not only will there be sweeping changes to the engines for these cars, but also the aerodynamics, and it's very much the biggest change in Formula 1 when it comes to regulations, potentially ever, but definitely since at least 2014. And we of course changed the engines to the V6 turbocharged engines that we have nowadays. Now, when you switch your focus entirely towards next year is something that is very, very difficult to say, especially for the top teams. But according to a few different sources, both Ferrari and Mercedes are saying that they could quickly focus on 2026, especially if 2025 is not going to plan. But let's have a look at this story, you guys. Normally I would read from an article on the F1Chronicle.com. However, the guy that does these articles is off work at the moment. I do have the story, but I can't show you unless you really just want to look at my script that I've put up here. It's not the best. It's a decent read, I must say, but it's just black and white text. So I'll just go from this here. So, Vasseur has admitted that Ferrari could quickly switch its focus to the 2026 season in the opening stint of 2025. 2025 is the final year in the current technical regulatory period, with teams permitted to commence aerodynamic development work for the all-new 2026 rules from the 1st of January, so they're already well underway. That makes the coming season unique, with even top teams perhaps deciding to focus more intensely on 26 at an early stage. In Ferrari's case, boss Vasseur admitted that it will depend on whether the team is a title contender. He said the following: "I think that from the beginning of 25 we will need to split our time and resources between the two programs. Inevitably, the results of the first series of races in 25 will determine how we proceed from then on. If we realise that we don't have much to gain or lose in this season, we will quickly focus all of our efforts on the 26 project. But if we are fighting for the title, we will need to spend a significant number of hours per week developing the 25 car." Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff agrees. "I think that most teams will choose to shift the majority of their resources to the 2026 cars quite early on. But it's going to be back and forth for a few months," he said. "I think it will all settle into where we should be in the first few races, but I'm not sure we'll see many upgrades after the summer." Yeah, that's the thing, right? So effectively you've got, let's just go for the 4 teams that won races in the previous season in 24. So Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes. I think without exception, all 4 of those will have that same philosophy. All 4 of them will do their absolute, right now, let's just say a 50-50 split, arguably. Right, might be slightly different for those guys, but I reckon there'll be 50% on the 26 car and 50% on the 25 car. And don't get me wrong, the 26 car will have been spoken about and they will have been interpreting the regulations and getting an idea of what they want to do before even that. They want to hit the ground running effectively with that. But all of those 4 teams have genuine ambitions of winning the title, and all of them have done so in the last just over 15 years or so, just to include Ferrari in there too. So they all want to do that. They all have ambitions of that. They're all massive teams. Now, if we get a similar order to, let's say last season, so Mercedes are well off it early on, I think at that point they'd be like, right guys, let's just focus on the 26 car, because the odds are that Mercedes will be, in that case, faster than Aston Martin in 5th behind them, but slower than the other 3 in front of them, so they don't really have anything to gain or lose. Early on, first 5-6 races, so first stint of races over in the flyaways in Middle East and East Asia and Australia, at that point it'd be like, well, what's the point? We might get 3rd in the Constructors' Championship rather than 4th, but we might as well focus our efforts on the 26 car where we can actually win the championship. Whatever we do at this point, we won't win the championship. But it all depends on those opening races. Now, there are of course other teams that very much would probably, to be honest, I think would be working almost exclusively on the 26 car out off the blocks. Sauber is one of them, without a doubt. They are so far off the order and probably put themselves into a developmental black hole really at this point. I imagine Haas will probably want to do mostly 26 car. Alpine, in fairness, were making a lot of ground up towards the end of the season, so I think they'll be a bit different. They'll probably go around 50-50. Aston Martin, I think they'll be almost entirely on the 26 car as well, to be honest. I think Adrian Newey in particular will be their main guy when it comes to design. I think he'll almost be exclusive working on a 26 car. But yeah, that's my kind of take on it, guys. And it might mean that the early order that we get in 25 doesn't really change too much throughout the season. I doubt we'll see as much kind of flip-flopping or many changes of the pecking order in Formula 1 in this year coming up as what we have done in the past in 24 and 23. I don't think we're going to, I mean, famous last words, you never know, but I don't think we're going to see a Red Bull style season where someone's like miles out in front at the start, then it's just third, fourth fastest, are just a bit lost, and then eventually recovers to second, third fastest, maybe first fastest, depending on your define. I'd say second or third, though. I think if Max Verstappen has the fastest car on the grid, the guy's winning every single race, and he wasn't doing that at the end of the season. Won a few, but not all of them. But that's my kind of take on it, guys. What do you think about it? Do you think that the bigger teams are just kind of play this down? Do you think they'll almost be entirely focusing their efforts on 26 already? Your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you say about this. And of course, give it a subscribe to the F1Chronicle.com to see much more content on the world of Formula 1 just like this. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well. And we'll see you very soon, guys. Have a good one.